Welcome to Loup TV. I'm Gene along with Doug for Thursday, February 3rd. Our topics are earnings related. We have Amazon, Snapchat, Pinterest, and we're going to do a look back at Facebook. And we'll kick it off with Amazon. They reported revenue in line, huge beat on earnings that was driven by Rivian gain. So you have to back that out. They guided revenue for the March quarter 5% below the street, and the stock is up 15%. Doug, your reaction?
I was surprised. I thought, based on what we've been seeing this earnings period, if you guide down revenue, the formula has been that you get hit hard. And I think the only thing you could take away from it is obviously Amazon was down, I think 7 or 8% today, kind of in sympathy with Facebook. And so, I guess you could say perhaps it was priced in. I think the whole sentiment in the market, everything was down. The NASDAQ was down more than 3%. So obviously people were very bearish. It still surprises me though. I think that despite the market kind of being down, despite the market probably expecting a slightly negative report from Amazon, I would have guessed the stock moved actually down on this, not up like it is right now.
I'm in the same camp. I was reminiscing about our headline from yesterday, which is if you blink in tech, you're getting taken to the woodshed. Amazon did a full bore. It wasn't even a blink. It was just a swing and a miss. And here we are. The stock is really moving. It has not performed as well as some of the other FANG over the last few months. So maybe that plays into it. But I want to even jump forward beyond the guidance for March and kind of normalizing some of the comps. The street's still looking for, call it 17% growth for 2022. Before the pandemic, in the 2 quarters before, it was on average 23% growth. They had some funky comps related to Prime, so they had to kind of back out the 10% growth that they recently had. But when you kind of think about that, that's probably what's most important. Would you agree, revenue growth? And so first, do you agree with that? That's what's most important for Amazon. And second, if you do, what's your over under on that 17% bogey?
I do think revenue is the most important thing. And we covered this thing for a long time together back at Piper. And one thing that they occasionally did get credit for is a few times every once in a while, they would show this big profit quarter. So they'd have some incredible operating margin. Normally they'd run pretty close to break even, and then they might show something in the high single digits. And the stock would get a lot of credit for that. I feel like we're beyond sort of the question of Amazon's profitability. That was when they used to get that credit. To me, if they come out and they show some big boost in profitability, I have a harder time getting excited about that because we know that lever's there for Amazon. To me, I think the bigger question is about that growth number. And to your point about 17, I think that's a pretty good over under. I'd probably take the slight under on that, but I think it's going to be close. What do you think?
I'm going to take a comfortable under to that, and I'd put that kind of at 15, 17%. So I think that investors are probably going to price that in over the next few weeks because I think there's still going to be some anxiety about what their true growth rate is as we hopefully exit what we've been through for the last couple of years. And even though that sounds negative towards Amazon, towards the valuation of the company, I just want to be clear. I think that this company is a winner. I think that long term, they will generate shareholder value. I think that shareholders will be rewarded for this. I just think that you have to think about the Amazon story in terms of a decade, and we're this exit ramp from what we've been through for the last 2 years. We're not going to get a good snapshot of it today, and my sense is that there just needs to be some right size of expectations, what the underlying growth rate looks like. And then I think they can sleep well, investors can sleep well at night because no one's going to be able to compete with Amazon when it comes to logistics and top of the funnel. They're going to crush it. And so I think I'm optimistic long term, even though I'm going to take the under on that 17%. Let's go. Speaking of more than 17%, Snapchat up 50, 60%. It could be up 70% by now, 70 for all I know. It's just been on a tear. They actually had good numbers. I wouldn't say it would have justified 70% up, but they beat numbers, I think, by like 8%. They grew their users sequentially by kind of a similar number. I think they guided up fractionally for the March quarter. But that stock jump didn't really stick out to you. Something else stuck out to you. I guess, what was your take on it?
Well, yeah, and I think just to finish the thought, why is it up? I think the big thing is the guidance was also up. I mean, they guided up for Q1, which I think stands in such stark contrast to what Facebook did just yesterday, and Snap got really punished today, again in sympathy to the Facebook news. So obviously, you've got a really big snapback, pun intended there. Is it, did the value of Snap really change 25% between yesterday and today, and then another 60% aftermarket? Probably not. But I think that's just sort of the mentality of the market right now. We're searching for stability. We're really not having any effective price discovery at this point. And I think we're going to be probably in that regime for maybe a little while longer. The other thing that stuck out to me, though, and I would like to get your take on this too, there has been some discussion, I think, as people have digested Facebook's call last night
Hold
in
that
terms of,
thought. Can we hold
yeah,
the Facebook to later? I do want to mention
you'll
one
hold it.
other.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, hold that thought. One other piece on Snap, and as I think about the attention economy, think about this big bounce we've seen in the stock, the big sell-off we saw in it more recently, and I mean, it's just a wild ride. It's whiplash and Snap has been whiplash from the beginning. And I don't think any of that's going to change. I don't think investors are going to ever really sleep well at night knowing they get things back on track. I wish them the best. They expand their base, but then someone's going to be concerned about something else vectoring from left field. And so I just think if you enjoy roller coasters, this is a great stock for you to own. We're not going to say much on Pinterest, but kind of similarly decent results. Stocks up in Unity. This is a company that we know really well. They're building tools to kind of create gaming environments and 2D and 3D environments, and they're considered one of the picks and axes of the metaverse. And this is still a pretty richly valued company. What's your take on Unity?
It was a great quarter. I mean, the most important thing in our view is what they call Create Solutions, and that is their software business. So they really have two businesses. The smaller business is software, so it's subscription based. It's the tools that developers use to build 3D worlds. The other part of their business, which is bigger, is called Operate Solutions, and those are things like ad solutions, in-app purchases, and things like that. The biggest part of the beat actually happened on that Create Solutions side. They beat by about 15 million. And so that's a healthy beat.
As a percentage, it was like
they
crushed it. It was like a 20% beat, wasn't it?
That's right. And for a subscription software business, that doesn't happen that often, because usually you have a pretty good window in terms of what your revenue is going to look like any given quarter, heading into that quarter. I mean, I remember back in the day when we used to cover companies like LinkedIn, a lot of times they would say, we have pretty much 60, kind of 70-ish% visibility usually going into any given quarter, just because of their subscriber base. And so that's a healthy beat. I think it probably speaks to some underlying strength in that business and some uptick in that business.
Yeah, we're not going to be, this isn't the last time you're going to hear about Unity. It's going to probably become the next Adobe. And we're going to go back to the final topic, which we debated whether we should be the first topic or the last topic. And I think rightfully we're going to end on it, because it is, we talk about the toy department, which we're familiar with. We love ending in the toy department. I'm going to create a new department. We're going to call this the conspiracy department. And we don't typically spend a lot of time ever talking about conspiracies. Actually, can't remember last time we discussed this, but you want to give the setup on the conspiracy around Facebook and their commentary.
I object to the word conspiracy, as I love to do. Object. I don't know that I even say it's a conspiracy. I think it's just a theory, and it's a logical sort of reasoned argument that people have been presenting as we've sort of digested that Facebook call. We started to talk about it earlier. I think the idea is that basically Facebook really kind of laid heavy into some of their commentary about competition from TikTok, about the effects of Apple on their business, in an effort to basically present themselves as weaker than maybe they really are to regulators. I think it's a very interesting theory. I wouldn't go again as far as to call it a conspiracy.
I wonder
But I
what is
think
the
there were,
definition, by the way, of a conspiracy theory?
we can look it up here. A conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. I wouldn't say that either of these things are true here. I don't think there's anything
No, it's
unlawful
not. It would be a
or
secret
harmful.
plan, though. I think this, if true, it would be secret, but it's
Possibly,
that
yeah.
it doesn't fit the description of
No.
conspiracy. But I interrupted. Keep. You were talking about making themselves look weak.
Yeah, and I think that, again, if you just think about it logically and you really think about the call, we actually went back and looked. They talked about TikTok in the prepared comments. They mentioned it 6 times in this last call. They mentioned it only once in the call before. Usually they don't spend that much time in their prepared remarks talking about their competitors. And so that was different. And then obviously, listening to the call when we got into the Q&A, I think Mark Zuckerberg really at that point did sort of lay on and go into deeper detail some of the things that he felt was challenging from a perspective of TikTok and competition and Apple kind of all together, presenting a weaker picture for Facebook competitive position.
The one piece that makes me question whether they did this just to try to get some room between themselves and Washington is that they did talk about a shift in terms of going from stories to reels, like they went from feed to stories before. And that in reels, of course, is a competitor to TikTok. So that would suggest that unless they're playing up how big of a shift that is, wouldn't that kind of tell you that he actually is concerned about TikTok, the fact that they're making that shift?
Well, I think there's the reality of concern, which I'm sure they're concerned about TikTok to some degree, and then how real, is that concern? How much are you sort of layering on the concern? Are you sort of playing possum, as people maybe used to say in boxing or wrestling, kind of faking it a little bit, making it seem like you're more injured than you really are? I think that's the question. And the other thing that stuck out to me that I would tie into that question, which is Snapchat today, Snap talked about how IDFA wasn't really that big of an impact, and they obviously guided up in
That
Q1.
surprised me.
Yeah, and see that to me is something that raised a yellow flag, which it doesn't make logical sense because Facebook is such
Impossible.
a well-run company. Whatever you think about the product, and their philosophies, it's a very well-run company. And to think that somehow Snap got an edge on them and is doing a better job managing IDFA, to me is just a little hard to believe. And so that makes me wonder a little more about this, not quite conspiracy, were they really kind of maybe playing a little bit of possum with it?
Oh, for sure. There is, I don't think there are a lot of well wishes exchanged between the management teams of Apple and Facebook, and that would be kind of a subtle jab to throw that out there. And but it because you really didn't see that impact. The numbers were fine for the December quarter. Essentially, they came in line, and maybe they would have been better if not for IDFA. I think there's another piece to it related. When you take Zuckerberg for face value on the call, he seems weak, not defensive, but just more vulnerable than you've heard him before. But he's also a person that is smart and I would say clever. And I think that I would not put it past him. I'm not endorsing the theory, but it's one, if I think it's a coin toss. I would say that whether or not that actually happened. If it was, I'd tell you the market just took the bait and it swallowed the hook, line and sinker. And so
I mean, the next
we'll
question
know.
is, will the government swallow the bait if it was bait? In fact, we'll see. Seems like a harder one to predict.
What will happen is they'll probably come out in the March quarter and things will probably be fine. And so maybe the government doesn't swallow the bait because they move at the speed of the government. And I do want to make a note there. People in government, we know some of them, they're the hardest working people in the world too. When I say speed of government, I mean there's just a lot of levers that need to move to get things forward, but they work. They make the work ethic and business look like we're all soft here. Thank you, Washington, for all you do. You don't get all the praise that you probably deserve. And thank you, Doug, for joining on this. I'm going to say this one was memorable. Well, everything that happened tonight was memorable. I'm going to remember this night, Snap up,
Snap up
60 plus %. And on behalf of Doug, Gene, and Loup TV, bye for now.